I moved to the US just before my 7th birthday. Before that, I lived in Mexico with my mom, my older brother, and at the time, my baby brother. My dad would travel back and forth and send us money, but we were very poor. We lived in a tiny town in the middle of the desert where most people did not have running water, and things like blenders and refrigerators were for, quote, rich people. When my dad finally saved enough money so that we could all move to the US, it took every penny we had. For about a month, my mom, my older brother, and I shared one plate of food while my mom breastfed the baby. I had only one shirt, so that meant that every time my mom washed it, she would place a trash bag over me to cover me. But as a child, I thought this was funny. But when I moved to the US, it was obvious that I was different. I looked different, I spoke a different language, and I alternated between the same shirts and wore the same sweater every day to school, which was clearly not the norm here in the USA. Only one other girl spoke Spanish in my class, and let's just say, she did not want to be my friend. Needless to say, I felt lonely, and I was bullied. But the thing that really crushed me was that I also felt lonely at home. I now lived in the USA with my dad, but in a broken marriage where yelling and slamming of tables is a frequent ordeal, life as a child felt like hell. I often cried myself to sleep at night, but only after waiting for my younger siblings to fall asleep so that they wouldn't see or hear me cry. I constantly questioned my existence and what the point of my life was before I was even a teenager. Despite all that, I was actually quite smart and I learned English very quickly and I soon became a straight-A student. But I felt frustrated with myself because it seemed like I could never get my parents to see me, to truly see me. I grew up feeling empty, and as a teenager, once I got my first job, I immediately began a downhill turn, developing shopping habits that would maybe, hopefully, give me that feeling of self-worth and love that I craved. I bought assortments of makeup and dresses and shoes and purses so that I'd never have to repeat an outfit. I didn't realize I was trying to fill a void. You see, shopping was fun, and after all, I did shop the clearance section and shop at the thrift store, so I was being a smart shopper and getting the deals. When my husband and I got married, we rented a 3-bed, 2-bath home, and I'm ashamed to say I had clothes in every closet. Every one of those 3 closets. He had about half of one closet, and the rest was pretty much mine, not to mention the countless shoes that lined our king-size bed. As a newlywed, I worked as a nurse, working 3 to 4 days a week, and my husband was gone all day during the week. So you bet I was out enjoying my favorite hobby, shopping. Only now I wasn't just shopping for clothes, because you see, I needed home decor. I mean, I had to make the rental seem cozy. To this day, after our 7 years of marriage, I'm still in love with my husband, and we've always been cheesy lovers. But we had our issues to work out when we first got married. Clearly, I had a shopping addiction, and he had a video game addiction. I would often arrive from my 12-hour shifts at the hospital to find him sitting down playing games. This wouldn't have been a problem, except he wouldn't get up to greet me, and often wouldn't even turn his head from the screen in order to say hello. As a newlywed, this left me with an intense feeling of loneliness to eat dinner alone, go to sleep alone, and spend my days alone. So I again masked the loneliness with my hobby, shopping. I didn't like being alone. It made me feel uncomfortable because I didn't like the girl in the mirror. I didn't want to spend time with her. I told myself that she was ugly, she was unworthy, she was a waste of time. And so I looked for distractions to quiet that voice. Until one day, everything changed. I met a travel nurse at my previous job to whom I will always be thankful for having gifted me with the book The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. I'm sure if it had just been a recommendation, I would have never bothered to get it for myself. But since it was a gift, I read it. And I read it to my husband. And it completely changed our lives. For the first time in our lives, we considered the idea that we didn't have to live in debt, that we could be rich, and that we could impact more lives if we were rich. That it wasn't a sin to be rich. And in fact, the path that we were headed down wasn't exactly making us the best human beings to begin with. Before reading this book, I'd never imagined myself living a life of wealth. But needless to say, we were hooked. We made plans to get out of debt. We worked overtime almost every single week. My husband sold his video games. We sold our TV. We sold so many of our possessions. And this is when the decluttering began. All of a sudden, I began to ask myself questions that I had never asked before. Like, what do I value? What do I want out of life? What clothes actually make me feel good? And do I really need this? I began decluttering my belongings, and in the process, I began peeling away layers of a mask that I had placed over myself. I remember the day that I got rid of my real human hair extensions. A girl who had hair to her waist, but just wanted volume. I felt an intense sense of guilt at the money that I had spent for this, and for having failed to consider the woman that gave up her own hair to feed my vanity. It's now been 5 years since I began decluttering, and I hate to admit it, but it was a very slow process for me in the very beginning. But in so many ways, I'm thankful that it happened this way, because it was never about the stuff. It was about letting go of my desire to please others, about accepting myself, loving myself, about finding a cause greater than my own, and reducing my never-ending desire for more. Perhaps you expected me to say that I am now a millionaire, and I'm definitely not. But I do consider myself rich, because minimalism has allowed me to slowly release and let go of not only physical possessions, but the very things that were holding me back from healing. As I painstakingly removed bag after bag of physical excess, I also removed emotional baggage. For the first time in my life, I faced the girl in the mirror, and I smiled at her with love. I forgave her for the mistakes that she was ashamed of. She forgave those who hurt her. And more importantly, I was proud of her. And without even realizing it, because I put so much time and energy into removing clutter, I no longer had the desire to bring it all back in. And because decluttering was often such an emotionally draining task and selling and donating items took time, I became a much more intentional shopper, and my desire for more began to diminish. Likewise, my vision of what wealth means also changed. I will forever be grateful that I got to work as a hospice nurse, because constantly working with patients who are dying has been my biggest motivator to live, to savor life, to take advantage of my time and make a difference, and then also to have hobbies and enjoy doing nothing without feeling guilt. After these 5 years of pursuing slow, simple living, we've now reduced our expenses to mainly our essentials. This has allowed me to quit my college career, eliminating our only stable income source. To be clear, I'm very thankful for the money generated from this YouTube channel, but $13 to $15 a month does not pay the bills. I'm now a homeschool mom, and I've never been happier. And this wouldn't have been possible had we continued down the path of our shopping and media addictions. I now get to guide my children according to my values. I get to be a support to my husband, which makes him happier, and I have time for myself to be able to devote to my hobbies and take care of myself, which makes me happier, which makes our whole family much happier. This is not to say that we don't have problems. Everyone does, and if you don't right now, you will. But I now know my values. I know what is essential to me, and I try to live a life that aligns with that. To me, purposefully living a life that aligns with your values, that's true wealth. As a home hospice nurse, I visited rundown trailers as well as mansions. But in the end, neither the rich nor the poor can escape the reality of death. I've seen grief and regret, but I've also seen peace at a life well lived. I know that my life will end, and I know what I want when the day comes. I know what I would love to accomplish, but even if that never happens, I'm enjoying the journey. To me, wealth isn't some number, some goal you finally obtained, some achievement you finally accomplished. It's more than that, and it's inside of you. Minimalism for me has been a tool that allowed me to find what I truly value in life, when I couldn't see it because it was hidden beneath all my clutter. Decluttering did so much more for me than give my home a pretty aesthetic. By removing the physical excess in my life, I gained time for the things that truly matter to me. And to me, this is everything. Thank you so much for watching my minimalism journey, and I hope that it's encouraging to you in your pursuit of living a more fulfilled, slower paced life. If you enjoyed this video, you'd love my video, Is a College Education Necessary?, where I share my dad's poverty to riches story. I'll leave it here so that you can watch it next. And if you haven't read The Total Money Makeover, I highly recommend it. You may be able to access it for free through your library in apps like Hoopla or Libby, but I do also have an affiliate link for Audible where you can get a free 30-day trial of Audible with a free audiobook, yours to keep even if you cancel. I'll leave the link down in the description box below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and help support my channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss when I post a new video. Until next time, bye for now.